Tool, Undertow. Alright. I'm going to do my best to make sure that every day this week, well, up until the release date, and then if it's probably going to come out Monday, don't blame me. I'm probably going to have some, and not even that. I need time. I want to do that album right. I'm going to try to do this right. Here we go. Well, as we heard, brief second here, start off with Intolerance. You do get a weird thing that sounds like a fleshy thing, I guess, for Toilet. This is like the band's most, when they were more at their rawest and their most visceral, following up their Opiate album. It's still in that raw sound, but I feel like this, compared to most of what was on Opiate, is probably their best in that regard. Also, the album cover, and that's another thing you also need to realize with this band. They, at least, despite having for a long time up until a few weeks ago, having finally released everything streaming, the only thing about that also came about is the fact that apparently Opiate album cover has an update. And it's definitely way better than the original, I'll tell you that. I don't think I have it in here. Let me see. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And that's the original album cover. So, yeah. It's no different from what we do get here, but I feel like it's Sylvia Masia who helped co-produce the band, as well as also having been involved with mixing, or at least she herself had mixed. Most of the album is mixed by Ron St. Germain, whom also would work on later albums. One of a band that most people don't care for, but is unfortunately considered one of their best with that one. And that album is, My Own Prison by, it's still a special place. I'm going to just say it. My Own Prison by Creed. Ron St. Germain was involved in having mixed that record. I'm trying to figure out what he might have done in between this and that record. But yeah, those are the ones. And that come to mind, and you could kind of tell, I guess, the way it was mixed, that especially given the certain quality to Creed's sound at that point. Slightly similar here, but not nearly as good as what Tool did. Instrumentally, there was a total difference. They weren't trying to be stuck on the fad thing. But anyway. Also, Sylvia Massey, if you're wondering, she's went on to produce other things. System of a Down record, I believe. Also, more recently, Avatar's Feathers and Flesh. Fun fact. Which was a fine album. It was fine. And they're a good band live. I can attest to that for sure. Especially having seen them with Trivium and Howard's band Light the Torch, which I missed out on. And anyway, still knocking myself on for missing that. But anyway, Intolerance is probably this is the band at their rawest, one of their band, as far as the full lengths are concerned, the band at its rawest form and most visceral, or at least in a way that's more contained and pushes forward a lot more aggressively compared to what they had on the Opiate EP, or at least in a way that showed a sense of maturity in comparison. Sorry, I'm itching and somehow I'm shaking the car. And I'm shaking my camera, sorry. But anyway. Tolerance was a great opener. Solid. One of the only albums Paul DMR was on. Did bass Foley on. He sort of did some on Anima before things with him and Maynard went to butted heads and then kicked him out. and then Chancellor would finally come in within recording time. So some other parts that maybe DeMar wasn't able to, he filled in before he became a full-fledged member, I guess, or at least around that point. But anyways, Intolerance, just, I love the vocals. Just Maynard's vocal style, how raw it is at this point as well. I mean, a lot of the lines, I mean, Henry Rollins was involved in Bottom. I mean, of course, the second and third tracks that follow Intolerance are the singles of this record and probably the most noted songs on this album. Even though Bottom did become sort of a teaser track, at least on my radio station. Maybe 4 Degrees kind of did too, but I'm not into. But I think it was more so Bottom. But anyways, Crawl Away is probably one of the more heavier, more even among the more visceral tracks, and even as well. Bottom is pretty cool with the, and I think another member of what was the Henry Rollins group, the Rollins Band, Chris Haskett, or at least the classic lineup of Rollins Band. I think he was among. He also played a part in helping them with that album. It was all done in the studio known as, I want to say, Sound City Studios, which was a very big, well known for a lot of big records. This was one of them, and I think also around this time frame, the debut album from Rage Against the Machine was on this one. And I think while they were probably recording this one, I think Maynard, of course, has a guest feature on Know Your Enemy. Also, that album in of itself, as far as I'm personally concerned with Rage Against the Machine, is huge, blah, blah, blah. It's, to me, my more personal favorite. I understand the follow-up getting more praise for some reason in certain aspects, but to me, there's just something to that first record that's still better than that one, that I would still put as better than that particular album I'm thinking of. But we're not reviewing that, so whatever, and I'm sorry for Rage Against the Machine fans anyway. I do apologize because they're killer. Anyway, Intolerance, Prison Sex, Sober. The album version being different from the other one, where instead of Jesus Won't You Try and Whistle, it's Jesus Won't You. Of course, I got the explicit version, so Jesus Won't You Fucking Whistle. Something but the past and done. And his delivery is fine. I understand if there's some reason Maynard might have gotten comparisons to Danzig, and the band themselves may have sort of gotten some Danzig comparisons. Though the band has not really cited Danzig at all. They have cited Melvins and King Crimson, and that has been it. But even though other members on the side have probably said other influences, whether it be Led Zeppelin, which of course they did a cover later on with No Quarter, of all songs for Tool to cover, that was probably one of the better choices. I'm not sure what else they could have done. I mean, song-wise, I guess, for that band. But anyway, I mean, Sober. Bottom is one of the good ones. It's definitely more aggro-visceral. Crawl Away is definitely one of those. I think so. Prison Sex isn't really about prison sex necessarily, but it does sound like it might be about buffing. Or not. I don't know if it's more so than. Yeah, I don't know if it's more so than the one particular track that I'm thinking of from the first Perfect Circle album, Murder Gnomes. That's debatable. But anyway, for some reason, the name of that one escapes me, and I don't know why, and I feel awful because I do like a Perfect Circle as well. I love his vocals, his more somewhat snarl to screamish kind of vocal style. I wouldn't say go as far as to say it in the same exact sense. Given that they were kind of, Tool particularly at that point, were still kind of in that lane of alternative metal that Faith No More, Jane's Addiction, or Faith No More, your Jane's Addiction, and your amongst other bands that I seem to be blanking on, also were kind of lumped into. But while simultaneously seeming to come across more closer to what grunge is, I guess. But they weren't trying to be that. They were a band that were from LA, even though Maynard eventually started to leave and go more to Arizona. And I mean, that does showcase itself a little more in a later album. And plus, you know, given the weird little mess answering machine from his Maynard's landlord and around the end of Disgustipated, which I guess some band, a member from a band called Collide or something, was responsible for doing a lot of the instrumentals or portions or samples or whatever. I guess it was an industrial group, because it does come off very industrial-esque in nature. It helped them out with that. And when you get the album, it's as much as it is titled 10 as track 10. You don't really, they kind of lengthen it out to track 69. And it's one of those tracks. Flood is, between that, well, more so Flood itself is kind of more of an example of one of the more the band being able to expand into more lengthier tracks, which they do even more so within future releases. Well, up until 10,000 Days, and now even more so come with this new upcoming One Fear Inoculum. As the opening title track that we were so given earlier this month had suggested. And yeah, I should have probably done a track review, and I'm sorry for that. But anyways, sober. Sober is a classic. Why can't we not be sober? I just want to stop this over. I'm not even really trying. I'm kind of in a car and I'm trying not to look stupid in front of other people, even though I probably already am, just trying to do this review, but whatever. Hasn't stopped me before. Swamp Song's another good one. 4 Degrees I just liked, especially the sitar that we get from, that Adam Jones is playing on this opening track, you know? Before getting into actual guitars. And, DMR has a great bass tone. I feel like Chancer would further expand upon whatever he set up the groundwork for with this band and go into even further and even better places. But for what they did with Paul DMR, given this an opiate, it's amazing. I'm sorry I spit in the camera. Yikes. Another rinse. Yeah, just the no one is innocent! Sorry. Probably sounds like shit. I'm trying. Undertow, like, just this fucking album is just great. And plus you kind of go to 6, like, especially for how raw this album is, you know, 6, the number of tracks, it kind of skips from 1 to 2 tracks depending on certain ones. More so, I think 68. By the time it gets to of course, the number 69 before you get to the actual album title. Even though, and if you want a better expansion on the everything tool and of how to get into them, I would also recommend Crash Thompson, aka The Rock Critic, on his channel. That's awesome. Check that out. And there's so much else I want to say proper. And this is definitely Tool still learning to. There are moments where I still listen to this album as much as I often, more so because this is one of those few bands that I bother listening to that is considered my favorite. I know I'm not branching out or like doing so, but because I'm afraid if I jump around a bit, I'm gonna camera's gonna fall on me. But anyway, Tool's never had a bad album. This is, though considerably, I would put this at this current state, given it is one of their beginner albums. It's a little lower on the list. It is visceral. It is dark. In fact, the stuff on the album, like not on it, but inside, besides the back of this album, which Apparently, to think that this was what you do to your pets, Adam. I mean, I don't know if I would even call this thing a pet at this point if you're going to do this stuff. But whatever. I mean, crazier things this band has done in later album covers. And even though it does get a little more disgusting, a little more to the point where I could probably get far more demonetized. Even though I'm already technically not even monetized anyway. So it's not like it matters. I'm actually doing this because I do love this band. I love this album. You probably will get something better. I don't. So what? This thing is just, it's masterclass as usual. And it rocks. All the way. All the way. I think I got the right line. But anyway. That, by the way, is from 4 Degrees. Anyway. Flood being one of the more expansive ones, the riffing. I really like, more so, certain moments at the end of that. This, Clearly Intolerance has a fucking amazing riff of, after the "No one is innocent!" Which, he goes a lot longer. I can't seem to hold it as much as him, which kind of pisses me off that I can't do that. The only closest thing I can kind of get has been sort of in spurts through, like, another track I will definitely get to and really get excited on that record. And of course, you're breathing, so I guess I'm still alive. Even the sun seemed to tell me otherwise, won't you? Anyway, I had to do it. You know, I could be more excited, but you know, it's just hard when you got so much shit going on in your brain and you really want to show your Tool fandom without. But, you know, in fact, I got a bumper sticker and I need to put it on my car at some point, and I need to put it on one of my guitars at some point. If I can find more of them, I'll put them on all my guitars. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I like I said, this album rocks. I love this thing. I know it doesn't seem like I'm saying or adding much to the table that most people, if Tool fans, don't already know about this and every other album, but I want to talk about them while I can. Or at least just briefly whether elongated or not, since it's about already, past 17 and a half minutes at this point. But, you know, I ramble on, but here we go. You know, just give yourself a chance for this. I wouldn't say it's the thing you should start on, but, you know, I wouldn't say no to it. You know, give it a shot. The album's awesome. The album is good. It's great. As everything is. It's just considered just fine in comparison to what would later become, and we will talk about that in days to come. And hopefully I can have a chance to geek out on those a heck of a lot more. And yeah, the raw sound is great, and I think this is also a little more closer to a more punkier, heavier hardcore, closer to in that way that Melvins were in the sludgier, stonery, kind of hard psychedelia type sound that the band had with this record. And the band would further expand more closer to spacier rock, and the type of stuff that would basically lump them more so their particular progressive rock infused alt metal, or basically just progressive alt metal. This was the stepping stone of albums that definitely put them on the map, but would further become expanded 3 years later in '96. With the album that I will follow up with, Aonima. Apparently an A and an E, both for spiritual, and I'll just save it for that one. But what did you guys think of my rambling and my sort of held back but giddiness on Tool's Undertow, and just pretty much saying what everyone else is that is legitimately a Tool fan themselves, and you know, the entire music world has said about Tool over the many years for what they have done in their contributions to both rock and metal, and to some extent, whether or not the band believes it or not, prog, rock or metal, as it may be. So, what do you guys think of the album? Leave a comment with Undertow if you ever had a chance to listen to it, and if you wanted me to expand upon certain things and felt like I needed to expand upon certain things, I guess leave a comment below. Let me know. As always, guys, keep it real, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video, which will be Anima, and I'm probably going to try to tape some other rocks after this. So there's that, as I usually do for every week. If y'all know what the movie Church Run is, we'll check that out. But anyway, and I guess I'll get out of here and take care of y'all. Oh, and yeah, normally I wear this. Sorry, I forgot. I'll remember that for the next video. Again, take care of y'all.